Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Ink Spilled Glimmers. Yesterday in our set review, we reviewed Amber, Amethyst, and Emerald. Tonight, we have the chance of having back Alexandru and Patrick to review Ruby,
Sapphire.
Sapphire, and Steel. I know my colors. Ruby, Sapphire, and Steel. So let's jump right back into it with Alexandru Taverna and Patrick Cote, who both are qualified for the huge events in the Continental North American Challenges from Atlanta and Chicago. Congratulations to you guys once again on your invites.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's jump right into this party with Ruby with Wreck-It Ralph, Demolition Dude.
Yeah, so I think this card is a build around. You have to do a lot of stuff for it to be an engine, but I think as soon as you get the ball rolling, you might have it do a lot of damage. So you have to. So gaining a lot of lore off of it because it has a lot of willpower is possible if you find a way to ready and exert it really easily. That might be something with Shield, with LeFou, with stuff like that.
I don't think this card is really good. Although I'm very happy to see Wreck-It Ralph. I love the movie and it's fun to see it in action instead of just an action that's called break or no, not do it. What's the name of that action again?
Pick a fight.
Pick a fight. Yeah, we kind of see a glimpse of Ralph, but now we have a card. But yeah, this card I'm not sure it's pretty good. It's similar to the Donald Duck that once have damage to quest, but
Don't say that to him. He loves the card.
already.
I don't.
You love that card.
I have like 12 copies of it, but I don't like it.
Like,
But I
maybe
would
like
I
the
would
heart.
find it hilarious to see it work in a deck, but it's not a workable card right now. But it's cool design. I would have loved to see that design work out. Oh, this is one of yours, Drew. So Maximus, team champion. Continuing that theme of cards that are better than the legendaries in the set.
Yeah.
Well, 6-drop Inkable.
Well, this one is super rare, so you would expect it to be good, but its true value comes from the fact that it's as soon as it arrives, you will always get something off of it. It works really nice with Flynn, Flavorwin, so with the Flynn frenemy from last set. So I think these two cards work hand in hand with gaining lore in an alternative way. Just love the card. Love it.
We've seen how Flynn was pretty strong this set, and this is just a bigger version that triggers the first turn you play it. And it's cost 6, so you can play a 5-drop Maui that just does nothing to play this in, the next turn and have the gain 2 Lord effect. It also can quest, so yeah, this one is very interesting. There's a lot of high powers Ruby card to trigger it. The big difference is at the end of the turn instead of at the beginning of your turn, which makes it much better.
And I know some of our friends who have been trying to make Alice work since set 2 are really happy to see this as well as another Alice workaround, build around. Speaking of Donald Duck, but not the same one, but another legendary that probably won't do that much. Donald Duck Pie Slinger.
This one is one of the cute legendaries. What I mean by cute is not really playable. I might be wrong. Like maybe having a 9/6 is fine enough. But I just think it's just there to be flashy and will not accomplish a whole lot. I'm ready to be proven wrong.
Yeah. Maybe late game it doesn't dice the Medusa. That's the idea with this card, but still it quests for 1, so it's not even a good finisher. And shifting, I'm not sure what the target would be for this, but you don't really get a lot of value. Maybe losing 2 lore could make sense in the control-y deck to like slow down, but it's kind of hard. You need to shift, so you need good Donald Ducks in the deck. So yeah, this one I'm not so sure yet. Beautiful though.
The Enchanted probably won't be too expensive for you, Drew. This one, though, a little more exciting. Robin Hood Sharpshooter.
Speaking of enchanters, that's one I want. This is one of the cards I love in the new set. I've been having a lot of ideas of how to make it work. Some people seem to think that it might not do quite as well as I wanted to do, but I think it has a lot of potential in different shells, either with Amber, with the revive, and just going on loops of like you mill yourself, you mill revive, you play revive for free, you revive something that you just milled, and you garner a lot of value. I think it might make Ruby Steel something that is viable nowadays. Well, I sure hope it does. This is my pitch about it. I love the card. I really want it to be playable, and the enchant is gorgeous.
Yeah, this card is pretty strong for sure. It quests for 2, so at least if it missed, just like we've seen a lot with Ariel and Ember Steel, it still has a good body that's gonna stay probably 1 turn and quest for 2. But if when it doesn't miss, it's pretty strong, and it's not as limited as the Ariel because it's action and not just song. So I feel like this will miss less. And having it with revive is pretty cool because you can just revive something you discarded with the effect. So yeah, this one has a lot of potential. It's a card that's going to be stronger and stronger with each release when they release more good 6-cost action.
Think we might see Dragonfire make a comeback with it?
Maybe, but that's a lot of uninkable. I just find it funny. I feel like
True.
the dev loves Robin Hood too much because they're getting all the love.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of loving oneself, Gaston Pure Paragon, the 9-cost with reducer. In this case, it's each damage character you have in play. You pay 2 less to play this character.
So I have to make the pun that no one does it like Gaston. He had to reduce himself by 2 instead of 1. So no one does it like Gaston. This is a huge buddy. I like it a lot with the Maximus because it just has infinite strength. It's rush. It's gonna probably be banishing 1, 2, 3 characters before it itself gets banished. I like the design. I really like the design of it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see when we're gonna try this out, how often we can play it with a discount and what's gonna be the discount. But surely the body is great. If you can put some ways to have resist on it, it's gonna be very difficult to destroy it. It's gonna probably trade at least 1 or 2 things and then it can quest, which Maui cannot. So yeah, this one is interesting. It's an inkable, so I'm not sure it's that strong, but maybe there's an archetype that's gonna spawn from it.
Yeah, we were already seeing beginning of set 5 a Amber Ruby damaged with Julieta and Rapunzel and all the damage characters. I think like having him being a much bigger Maui coming down on turn 3 or 4 might be like something maybe not game changing, but definitely a threat to deal with on the board.
And he works well with Maui. You know, like you smash your Maui into something and it becomes fodder for him to cost reduce. So
Yep.
And he can sing Be Prepared. That's always good.
Yeah. He can also take the castle on his own.
he can take many things on his own.
Glimmers versus Glimmers. I know that Alexander, that's one of the ones you really like. Banish chosen characters of yours to banish chosen character.
I feel it's a card you can get a lot of value out of. We've had a lot of kind of symmetrical effects that we always know are not that symmetrical. You get to choose what you're doing with it, so you can just like banish one of your 1-drops, you banish one of the really good characters or the engine pieces on the other side. It being only an action and being uninkable works against it. Maybe Being Undisputed is still much better than it is. I just like the design space, and I think we might see it played in maybe lower tier decks or just like budget friendlier decks or stuff like that. It's an interesting tool to have on its belt.
Yeah, this is an interesting card because there was a card that I don't remember the name, unfortunately, that was banish a friendly villain to banish another character.
Yep.
What costs 3 and it's a song. So this one costs more. It's not a song, but it's not as restrictive. So yeah, there's potential. And one thing I want to point out is it says banish chosen character of yours to banish chosen character. So if you don't have a character, you cannot banish another player character or yours. So yeah, this is important because it doesn't work on an empty board on your side.
Also, from a lore perspective, we learn here that when a character is banished, it's banished back to the lore book from the flavor text. So we now know where banished characters go.
That's good to know.
The sword released. I call it the Flynn Rider item, even though it's not exactly the same mechanic.
It's more of a drain effect more than just like a big splashy like I gain a lot of lore. That's what I meant to say. So I think it's interesting. Maybe it's an engine card of lower tier decks. Again, it's a build around. I'd be very surprised to see this in competitive lists, but it's very interesting as a consideration, again, as a tool.
I think I could see this in the Sapphire Ruby deck, that the item version that wants to get late. So this buys you some time to get into your Tamatuo that can basically quest for 12 with a dime and finish the game from 0 to 20 in one turn. So yeah, this one has potential, and you can put in and play with the blue queen for free if it's on the top of the deck. So yeah, it's an interesting card for sure.
The Ruby Chromicon costs 1, is inkable, and chosen character gets +1 strength this turn.
So I was talking about my Chromicon tier. This is like super high tier Chromicon. I think it's one of the better ones. So it just makes Maui able to take out the castle. It just makes challenging really, really advantageous. Love it a lot.
Yeah, we've seen people using the Vitalisphere to boost Maui and destroy Queen's Castle. So with this, you don't need to sacrifice it. You can use it every turn for free.
Repeatable.
It costs 1. It's inkable. This is very strong. Gives you favorable trade. With Rush character, it's even better. And even with the Amber, again, we can use this on an opposing character to use the Greatest Criminal Mind. So yeah, it's very flexible. Costs 1. I think this one is another very good card.
Works well with the Maximus.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Sugar Rush Speedway. Once per turn, you may exert chosen character here and deal them 1 damage to move them to another location for free.
So I think this is again a cute card for maybe like aspiring decks more than actual high tier decks. But having a really location heavy Ruby list, which I know a lot of people try to make work. If this doesn't make the deck playable, I don't know what will, because now we have a lot of good tools. We had the Jim Hawkins that could put himself into locations. We had a Tuk Tuk that brings character with him. But now this is an easier way. I feel also like it enables you having more locations. It makes your John Silver, if you're playing Steel, it makes him bigger. So I think it just enables different strategies, but a little bit more like rogue strategies.
Yeah, this wants to make location-based deck better, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. Maybe we're gonna see in another set some ways to protect location with a character, like a bodyguard for location. But right now it's kind of weak. It's uninkable. I feel like it's better, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I mean, to me, it's the easiest way to bring someone onto the RLS Legacy and enable it to start its loop, but yeah, probably not that much. This one, shift target for the bigger queen, so the queen cruelest of all in her hag garments.
So there's not much to say about this card. It's just we mentioned it in our last review of Amethyst, where we had a lot of Maleficent. We're going to see a lot of queens in Sapphire, so this is just here to be a fodder for these queen mechanics.
Yeah, the ward is just to make this sticky, but it's not a quester, it's not a board control card, so yeah, it's only for shifting.
Merlin, back from Bermuda. So
Okay,
Take it away.
again, it's just a shift target. I feel it's just better than the old Merlin we had in set 1. That's only a support character. It's nice from a flavor standpoint because it gives resist +1 to archers, but that's about it. It's just for probably the next card, if it's the next card on the slides, or we're going to see it quite soon.
Yeah, it's not that good to shift on this card either because it costs 4, so you're wasting 4. But there's not a lot of Merlin target outside of Amethyst, so maybe you need it if you want to play the big Merlin shifter.
also big shout out to Alice Pisoni, who did one of the DLC's promos. I think it's the Rapunzel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And always doing like amazing artwork like this one.
Definitely one of the best arts of the set.
Yep. Pacha, Emperor's Guide.
So I want to include this card because it has interesting stat lines. If you have a deck that plays both locations and items, this is really a good engine. I don't feel it's per se a good card, but it's a good way to rack up lore. So it quests for 2. It's gonna give you passive lore when you have items, when you have locations. That's only why I wanted to include it.
Yeah, I feel like this card would be played as the same way as Flynn, but probably not as good as Flynn, just in the way that people will leave this unexerted for protection, but maybe quest one turn before the beat prep or other removal. So yeah, it's an interesting card to gain passive lore without making your Pasha in danger by exerting if you don't need to.
I'm just happy to have more Emperor's New Groove cards.
That movie's great.
So, we had the Small Queen earlier, now we have the Queen Fairest of All.
So this is one of the interesting ones. I feel it quests for the number of queens you have. So this is where your other ward queen comes into effect. I think this is the established shift line. If you want to go with those team decks, I think this is your finisher. It's gonna be quite good. It is big. It is sticky. Nothing else to add.
Yeah, I like the ward in that card, and any card that has shift 3 and cost 5 is always fun with steel. So yeah, this one has a potential because it's a good singer that stay on board, even though it only has 2 attack. Like it doesn't get targeted by Sisu or anything like that, other than the big Sisu obviously. But the small Sisu with ice block or the brawl doesn't hit it. So yeah, and grab your sword doesn't do much, that card.
Also, small addition, it's for each character named the Queen and not for each Queen character.
Yeah.
Queen being a type, so just
Yeah,
just making sure. I know you know that. Just making sure we.
I probably misspoke on this.
The Sheriff of Nottingham, Bushel Britches. That's the 9 cost reducer for Sapphire. So
So
each item you haven't played 1 less.
So this one is for item. I think it might be interesting, but I don't think it's gonna dethrone Tamatoa any day soon. I think we had to include it because of the cycle. I think it's one of the least exciting of the cycle. I think it's playable, but I think it's one of the least exciting ones.
Yeah, and this to me feels just like a 5th or 6th Tamatoa in the Ruby Sapphire deck, or even Sapphire Steel deck, but probably not as good as Tamatoa, and it's not inkable. So yeah, it's.
The only way it's good is in that new item-driven Ruby Sapphire deck where you might play it for like almost free. I think this is probably the only instance is gonna be better than a Tamatoa.
Or an Ariel. So Chicha, Dedicated Mother.
I feel this card is great. Like I'm very excited about it. It has a lot of play to it. Just in general, I think it's gonna be an include in many blue decks. I don't know if you have something else to say about it, but I'm really excited about it. I think it has a lot.
The cost is perfect because it comes 1 turn before the quill, and then if you have this in quill, you can basically ink 1 card for turn and 1 with the quill, and then draw again. So it kind of removes the drawback of quill, and you still ramp very fast. It works with all the other ways to ramp too. So it's pretty good in blue. That's why it's in blue, obviously. But also it's kind of funny that it has support. Sometimes it may help you finish something. Just maybe like the Sapphire Ruby that wants to destroy a castle, you can support the Maui. So it's still flexible, even though it's not meant to be used to quest or support. It's meant to be like staying there unexerted for security, because it basically dies to every trade. But yeah, even if it's uninkable, I think this card is very strong, and it can sing the 1 jump ahead if needed. So yeah.
Yep, and it's probably, in my opinion, the most interesting promo card from the from the league this season.
The league kit.
Yeah, from the league kit this season. Definitely the one I'm going to be chasing. Prince John, Gold Lover.
So this one is the promo from the new Villainous board game. We've seen some of these surfacing on the internet right now. Just for like market considerations, people do not pay more than the value of the game for this. It is a super rare that is quite, let's say, it's good. It's not insane. I think it's really interesting in an item deck. It really gives you a good recursion engine. because it affects cards in the discard pile. But like I said, do not pay more than $40 for this card if you want to just get the game.
Yeah, this card is interesting, but I feel like costs 5. I'm trying to think about a good item that costs 5, and I don't have a lot in my mind. So right now it's all about costing 7, which is the lucky dime, and 3 or less because expensive item is pretty risky against item hate like the Benja and stuff like that. So yeah, it's like again another Tamatawa kind of effect, but not as strong.
Speaking of item removal, Cusco's Selfish Emperor, who is jumping the rope here.
Oh yeah, he's going through that bouncer, and there's a bit of a theme. I think we didn't go through all the cards that are linked in the art. With Krong being the bouncer, you have Yzma, you have a queen, you have other villains waiting in line to get into the party. But he's jumping the line because he's Cusco. You have you gotta respect him. He's the emperor. But that aside, the card is great. I think it's an amazing stat line where he deals with game items, other items or locations, which is not something you see a lot. And also, it's a good ink dump at the end where you just can gather advantage at the end of the game.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of card that you can use the effect multiple times like that. By invite only effect, you can pay 4 to give resist +1 to all characters. So late game with blue, we all know we have a lot of ink, so we can use this a lot. But the first effect is pretty strong because more often than not, like putting some card in the opponent inkwell is bad. But against the dime, it's what you want to do because then the Tamatawa cannot bring it back. So it's kind of funny that this card is meant to counter its own color, but we'll see. It's gonna make some very interesting mirror match potentially.
Probably the first legendary that was spoiled, I think, but one of the banger legendaries that was revealed this set
It's
is
the second,
Mufasa.
actually.
Second,
Yeah.
Mufasa, Ruler of Pride Rock.
Yeah, the other one was the other Sapphire one, but I think this is one of. It's definitely the most flashy card of the whole set. It does a really unique effect of you bouncing cards from your inkwell to hand. Also makes you reuse all of your ink once it quests. It's a huge body. I think it's gonna be an insane engine cards in blue decks.
Yeah, players with good memory will have a slight advantage with this card because, as a reminder, you cannot check your inkwell at any time during the game. So if you remember what you put in there, you know what's the chance of getting an important card from this effect. And we all know during the early turns of a game, we usually ink stuff that cost a lot, like a Maleficent Dragon or even a Tamatawa. So being able to bring them back, it's very strong. And also reading all the ink when you quest with it, it's also pretty strong. This card just have 2 very cool abilities. It's uninkable, otherwise it would have probably be played like 4 times in each blue deck, but now you have to trade for other uninkable, I guess. And one thing for sure that's cool is that it's Mufasa, so I could see this in the blue-yellow Mufasa, having the 5-drop one, bringing the blue one. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of a dangerous game though. If it brings the blue one when you're on low resources, now you probably shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, you get back at like 3 or 4 with the turn, but you can use it twice, so maybe it's good on turn 5 or 6 anyway. But yeah, it's cool.
The Bell of the Ball. We see what you did there.
I included this card only for the play on words. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think it's a very interesting body. It's I call it the Aurora at home because it gives ward to your characters only for a turn, not always as a static ability. And she is herself ward, which is interesting. Also, I like the character of Belle a lot. I love that art. I think it's interesting. I don't know if we'll see it played a lot. Definitely, if there are some princess decks that we mentioned in the last video, this might be something you want to be playing.
Yeah, again, we mentioned blue purple as a potential new deck. I feel like in this color would be interesting because you can just quest with it, getting 2 lore and then bouncing back with a snake and play it again. Because one turn it's good, sometimes it's a turn where the opponent will have love to target one of your character. But if you have a wide board, the wide removal already works against ward. So not sure where this makes a lot of difference other than if it's the critical like last turn of the game or if you want to play it more than once. So yeah.
Yep. Hideaway, the baby Cusco.
So again, I said I love the effect on the Cusco. I think it's interesting having it as an action. Maybe it's gonna see play just as kind of a like 1 or 2 of if you want to have that kind of tech card against location and items. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, unless there's like a location heavy aggro deck where you need to remove a location early. I feel like Cusco is just better, so we'll see.
All funned out.
So I included this card just because I'm sure there will be people that will find cool applications to it. So it makes you ramp by it's the reverse let it go. Let's say you put one of your characters into your inkwell. If Blurple is a thing, maybe this is a fun way to just gather value with like putting an uninkable rabbit into your inkwell. So you draw another card, you get more ink. This is just the really consideration. I don't think it will be like a 4 of staple of any kind in the competitive meta. That's about it.
Yeah, unless you want to play Be Prepared and protect something and get Inkwell. I'm not sure where you want to play this over like one jump ahead. Maybe they want to make the big Grand Matala better with this card, but I'm not sure yet if it's good enough. I don't think so.
The Sapphire Chromicon. So 4 cost uninkable this one. The priciest we've seen so far. Enters play exerted, and for 2 and an exert, banish one of your items to gain 2 lore.
I think this is mid to bad. This is in the mid to bad tier. It's really low on my Chromicon tier. It's the only one that comes in exerted. It's uninkable. It's big, and also it does way worse job than Triton from set 4 that can just exert to make you gain 3 lore by banishing one of your items. So I just think it's a bad Triton.
Yeah, it's way too slow. I wish it was at least costing 3 so you can bring it with the Queen or something, but it's too expensive. The effect costs lore to use. Like, if you compare this to Sorcerer Spellbook, it's probably going to make more lore with the Spellbook because you can use it the turn you play it, and then you can use it without paying 2, which kind of slows down all your tempo. So yeah, this one is not so great.
And now moving on to our last color, Steel, and starting with one of the legendaries, Jafar Tyrannical Hypnotist.
I hate that card. I hate that card so much. I hate it with a passion. I feel this is a spot that was wasted from the set. Everybody that knows me knows that Steel is my jam, and I was really excited about the Steel legendaries. I always am every set. Sometimes we get bangers like Beast Tragic Hero, or myself, as some people say, or the Robin Hood Champion of Sherwood. This is just plain bad. It dies to everything under the sun. It dies to Sisu, to Medusa, to Brawl, to you blowing on it. I don't know.
You better have a bodyguard with this card, otherwise it kills one thing and then it just disappears. It gets destroyed by anything and doesn't have any attack, so it doesn't fight back. Maybe they added this card just for the shift Jafar, but still it's super slow. It costs 6. You don't really want to shift on this, so it's pretty bad.
It's just it's a less bad Gantu. I don't even want to say good Gantu. It's just like a less bad.
I was about to ask, like, do you think it's better than Gantu?
Ever so slightly?
Well, at least it's opposing characters, which cost 4 left, can challenge at all, so it's not just him, it's others characters. So
yeah, it includes,
that's better than
locations, which is...
Yeah, I guess it can protect locations. I read that too fast. The first time I thought it was only him, but if it's everyone on your board, maybe there's potential, but you better hope you're not playing against red, because it's not going to matter.
Yeah. I mean, protects from foxes, I guess. Probably my favorite Steel card of the whole set, just for the art. Hey Protective Rooster. So I love the Hey journey that Lorcana is taking, and this one is no exception.
Yeah, I think it's here just to showcase that we finally get our Steel Hey. I think the body is just fine. I feel it's probably more of a limited card. No one is gonna go out of their way to play this, but the art is great. The cycle is now complete.
And in lower power, it's a really great bodyguard at 4/5 questing for 2. Like, at lower power, it's a good card, but no, this is really just the art on this is amazing.
Yeah, it's funny because it's the 5th set and they have released one Hey per color, so we're only missing the blue one. I wonder what they're gonna do after set 6 when they release the blue Hey. If they're gonna turn the wheel again and have 2 Hey per color, we'll see.
Maybe I'll get eaten in Moana 2. Who knows? Namari, Resolute Daughter. So that's the 9 cost with reducing. So this one is for each opposing character banished in a challenge this turn, you pay 2 less.
Oh, so I was mistaken about Gaston. Somebody does it like Gaston, but still, I think this condition is way harder to achieve than Gaston. So still, no one does it like Gaston. Again, it quests for a whole lot. It has resist +2. It's probably one of the least exciting cost reduced cards.
Yeah. It's funny because the other Namari can attack unexerted characters. I feel like for this one to work, you need to be able to attack an exerted character and potentially multiple time a turn, which is limited to very few characters in the game. It's very strong if it enters the play because of resist 3, so maybe you need to cheat it with the Hades again. I'm not sure. But yeah, otherwise it's not that great. The uninkability of this card makes it very poor in my opinion. Maybe the dev doesn't like Namari because I think they are all uninkable, which is sad, but yeah.
I feel like I don't see a world where you play this over Cinderella Stout-Hearted.
No. Don't compare it to my Cinderella.
Speaking of princesses in armor, Snow White Fair-Hearted.
You see, that's what I love. Again, it's in the same kind of vein as Cinderella Stout-Hearted. I feel this one is a lot more like niche as a design space. It's uninkable, but it's also quite aggressively costed for a 3 quester. Also, it makes you play kind of a theme of knights. It works well with the Cinderella Stout-Hearted, which is a knight. We'll see also some of the other knights that come with her as the dwarves in this set. I think it's more of, again, a lower tier thematic deck, but I would love it to work.
Yeah. I don't know if we're gonna see a thematic deck being competitive yet. Like they tried this with the Magic Broom, now with the Knight. It looks very cool, it looks fun, probably something I want to play as a casual player, but as a competitive player, I'm not sure I want to play this card. I mean, if it has resist +1, it's already enough to survive Zeus, and then resist +2 to survive Maui, but how easy is it to keep Knight in play, I'm not sure yet. Probably pretty hard, and uninkable, it's a problem.
I mean, just play Goofy Knight for a day.
Good luck.
Krunk, Head of Security, who is blocking that line that Cusco was skipping earlier.
Yeah, I was referring to that card as the joint art with him blocking the villains and being like, So, I like that card a lot. It's the intro deck card, which I feel is quite powerful for an intro deck. Some people like to compare him to Tinkerbell, but like a different kind of Tinkerbell. Instead of just pitching damage onto other characters, you're gonna pitch more characters onto the board when you banish. So maybe it's a big build around. Maybe it's lacking something to be quite good.
Then again, in Steel, 5 cost or less characters are known to be pretty good legendaries.
Yeah. What it misses is Rush, and fortunately we have ways to give him Rush with the new Cogsworth, or there's the Yell, so there's a bunch of ways to give it Rush, or you can shift it so it kind of is Rush, because if you just play this as is, the other player will just not exert stuff in front of it, just like the Tinkerbell kind of freeze the game state. People are scared to quest or anything, so this is kind of similar. You don't want the quest in front of that guy, so it needs to be Rush or attack the turn it's played, so that you can have like a surprise attack and shift the game into your favor with a big tempo.
We were talking about Knights earlier. I think that's the only one, or maybe we see another one that we have for here.
We're gonna have another one.
Yeah, we have Doc, right?
Yeah.
So Grumpy, Skeptical Knight.
I know there was a lot of hype about this one because again, it has to do with resist. It's aggressively costed, I want to say, but the body's quite small. Uh, Definitely one that will probably see play if any of the knights see play. It's a great way to challenge evasive characters. So yeah, that's like I know people are quite excited about it. I think I'm more excited about Doc that we're gonna see in quite a bit, but it's one of the playable knights in my opinion.
I feel like this one will spawn new question about ruling. Like if you move this knight on the location that deals 1 damage, does he receive 1 damage? This is gonna be a new edge case to clarify. I don't think. Yeah, you will probably receive damage, but yeah, this is a fun new scenario to check. And it's funny because I mentioned thematic deck. Like now we're having knights, and he's also a 7 dwarf, which wanted to be a thematic deck, was only casual deck. But maybe you can put both thematic into the same deck with the different Snow White, that one that buff with knights and one that reduce the 7 dwarf cost. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Although I do think he has to be on the location first before receiving the damage. If you're
Yeah.
talking about the speed,
I don't remember the location by heart, but
he
I
might
think
he might be good.
I think it's like when you move, so you're not yet there, so he's getting the damage.
Simba, son of Mufasa, another good uncommon that I wouldn't have expected at that rarity.
Yeah, it could have been a rare and it would have been perfectly fine. I like the shift on it that just gives you a good body. But I think where it shines its ability to deal with pesky game items or locations. So I think this is where it shines. That's why it's on our list.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was about time to have a Floodborn Simba, which is a fan favorite. At least it's one of my favorite character in the Disney universe, and it's pretty good. It can do 2 different things, location item, and it can shift and sync some stuff. So yeah, this
And
one
it
is
already has interesting targets in like the set 1 Simba that draws this card and
The
the set 1
bodyguard.
Simba that's the bodyguard. Yeah.
yeah. So that's also good.
Duck, the Bull Knight.
I think this is one of the better knights. It's only costed at 2. It has quite a lot of. It's quite chunky, being a 1/3. I like it that in steel you will sometimes run out of cards in hand, so it gives you the option of playing him later on in the game and literally just drawing 2 cards. If as a top deck, this is not horrible.
Yeah, this will see play in aggro deck where you and get small very fast, or maybe even also in the Sapphire steel, because you can ink more card per turns. So if you ink everything and just play the duck as the last card, you still draw 2. So yeah, this is a very very interesting card.
The second steel legendary, Arthur, King Victorious.
All right, so I really wanted to love that card. I really, really did. The problem, my main problem with it is just Cinderella stout-hearted at home. It's 7 uninkable instead of being 7 inkable. Okay, it shifts for the same amount. It has a 3/6 stat line, but it only gives the stats once you play him for a turn to something. Maybe not himself, sometimes to himself, but if you give it to himself, it just feels like a feels bad Cinderella stout-hearted. It also doesn't have the ability to challenge. It doesn't have the ability to challenge ready characters turn after turn after turn.
Okay.
So with the songs, so I just feel it's kind of like the retail Cinderella. But who knows? Maybe people will find good application to him.
Yeah, I think we need more good shift target for him. It seems to be there for answering Cogsworth, which is a problem for steel. So you can play this on turn 5 and have another body that attacks for 3 potentially, and has the challenger +2 to finish a Cogsworth. So yeah, it's a niche card, but beautiful heart, and in the future we'll probably have more Archer. So.
If his effect was on Quest as well, maybe it would have been a great card.
Pete, our games referee.
Again, with the legendary uncommons, I've seen, like, from the few lists I've seen of stuff of people trying to brew with the new set, this was everywhere. I think the effect is quite unique. It's quite good. stops your opponent from playing actions. It's I think it's a very good card. People were putting it in Steel Song to kind of protect their board and whatnot. I just love the card.
Yeah, the fact that it's action and not just songs makes this very strong. So you can really lock the game. And one of the color pairing I like to play the most is Amethyst Steel because of all the bounce package. It's probably a very good target for that. You need to play it the turn before your opponent wanted to do a board removal, but then you can just do it again with the new bounce elephant or the old one, the fox and the snake. So yeah, this one is pretty cool. It's correct stat line for the cost, inkable. This
Yeah.
one will surely see play.
And definitely like a good way to take that be prepared away for a turn or two and just finish the game.
Because before that, you had like the Ursula, Green Ursula, and the Bare Necessities. But if they had two be prepared, you're still doomed. So this one works when they have multiple of them.
In Steel, of all things.
In Steel of
Yeah.
all things. And the priciest Chromicon of all, the last one, the Steel Chromicon, that taps to deal 1 damage to chosen character for 6 uninkable.
I'm gonna go ahead and say trash. I think it's the worst Chromicon. I don't know. Is the blue one the worst one? Is this one the worst one? I don't know. They're just both really, really, really bad. So it's in the low tier Chromicons. It's uninkable. It costs six. And also it's not a repeatable effect. It's not like you could pay ink to pitch damage. It's like you have to exert it. Just bad.
Yeah, it's an expensive blaster that we had in, I think,
Yeah.
set 1, but you need to pay to use it. Now, this one you don't need to pay, but unless you can cheat the card with some new Sapphire card to play item for free, I think it's not strong enough. When you at the turn 6, you don't have characters that only has 1 health, so yeah. It's only
at
good
that
on the long
point,
term.
play Tinkerbell.
Yeah.
Just bad.
And finishing up with the 7 Dwarves Mine. So, the location that goes with the dwarves and the starter set, basically.
Yeah, I think this is the partner piece with the Grumpy we saw earlier. I think it's quite interesting. Again, I still think it's not gonna be a super competitive card. It's like you have to pay 2 to move characters in there. It's not a huge clock. It's not hugely cost. It's not hugely statted. I think it's just like kind of a cute tool.
Yeah. The thing that's interesting here is the fact that you can hit a character that doesn't have damage. We've seen the potential Emerald Steel deck that wants to have a lot of damage character, and they have a lot of cards that deal damage to damage character only. So this one can maybe start the combo off, but it's still kind of slow. It's a good thing that it has lore in it, so you can have a more aggressive deck potentially. But yeah, we'll see. Is that the
So
last one?
that's it for our review. That's our opinion. We want to hear from yours. Which cards are you the most excited about? Which cards are the most deceiving to you? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you next week on Ink Spilled Glimmers.